Welcome back to Immaculate Perceptions.
Boom!
Bruce is with me tonight.
Yeah, sometimes you got to call the B player to jump in every once in a while, right?
It's only because the Bears traded for Chase Claypool. We'll get into
Wow.
that in a minute. Okay, but first let's talk about the inactivity of the Packers today at the trading deadline. It's been reported now by I think a Spoon and some beat writers from the Pittsburgh, and give Josina Anderson credit too. JoJo reported earlier that Green Bay was likely to be the team to trade for Chase Claypool, but the Bears came in and offered their second-round pick, which is probably going to be a top 40 pick. And the Steelers, they jumped on that in a heartbeat. They thought it'd be better than Green Bay's deal. Chase Claypool is a Steeler. And I'm going to say this, Green Bay dodged a bullet.
No.
They dodged a bullet. No. Yes, go, Bruce. Hey, go ahead and have some fun with your Bearisms real quick about how you got Chase Claypool. Go ahead.
Hey, there's no Bearisms. I got nothing for you. I'm not going to come at you like that.
How can you catch a ball if the quarterback is on his back?
All I'm going to say is this. There's two teams going in two separate directions right now. The Bears are 3-5 with a rebuilding team, weak roster, and a team that has multiple draft picks and $130 million in cap space at the end of this year. Whereas the team up north, and I'm not hating at all, because genuine, like, you know this, because I'm not a douchebag Bears fan. I'm happy with the fact that there's actual movement going on with this franchise, and there's some forward thinking going on for once in Hallis Hall in Lake Forest here in Chicago. But my biggest thing, though, we're not making this about the Bears right now and how happy I am for once to actually have a potential receiver to help out Justin Fields, even though Fields is going to get lit up. My biggest thing is this. Why has there been no action from Green Bay to help Aaron Rodgers? There hasn't been. I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen any action from Aaron Rodgers from the skill position, from Gudachrist or anybody. Like, what's going on up there? Please let us know. What are your thoughts? And I don't know. They're 3-5, and I don't think that team should have been 3-5 right now.
Okay, look. Well, they're 3-1, and they've hit a streak which the quarterback play up until the second half of the Buffalo game has been porous at best. And yes, absolutely, Green Bay it'd have been nice for them to do something, but who was going to come in and make an impact right now? Who's going to be the savior at one of the guard spots to keep the quarterback up? Well, he's already on the team. He just didn't play on Sunday, Elton Jenkins. Who's going to be a defensive lineman that could come in and help stop the run? Yes, absolutely. You could go get a receiver. I was told they were in on another receiver. I can't disclose who it is, that it was close, but they just couldn't get to the finish line. Besides Chase Claypool, they called around. The reality is they can go sign somebody later on this offseason if they get to a point to where they decide that we still got a chance to go make a run at a Super Bowl or get into the playoffs to see what happens there. But Chase Claypool, they dodged the bullet. Not only is he a dude that wasn't well liked in the locker room in Pittsburgh, not only this, it's a guy that now it gives me one more reason to hate the Bears. I hate Notre Dame. And they got EQ, Poole, and you said commit. They can have the. Hey, you seen what Notre Dame did with those three on the roster? They didn't win shit.
That's true.
Justin Fields is the man. It gives me even more reason to hate them. But the reality is this: I think most Packer fans, I'm okay with what they didn't do today because they didn't have to mortgage. They were in a. If they mortgaged too much, it could have hurt them, and if they didn't do anything, it could hurt them. They were in literally a position where they were damned if they did and damned if they didn't.
So do you think that the Aaron Rodgers contract has caused them to be inactive in places that they should be, more relevant in, especially with free agency?
Good question. I think hindsight's 2020. And I think if you go back, and I said this to you off air, I said it to a couple of friends in the media that I know, a couple of friends that are with Game On.
Mm-hmm.
Quite frankly, I would have pulled the trigger 2 years ago with Denver. And I would have made that move and put yourself in a position. If you're going to rebuild and you're going to go that route, I know he won an MVP after that. And I know but they shit the bed in the playoffs. They choked. Quite frankly, he played like trash in the playoffs.
Right.
I would have done that only because I think at this point, look at where they're at now. You are in a sense in cap hell. And if you're in cap hell, quite honestly, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. So I'm okay with what they didn't do today. But I will say this. It's not Green Bay was never under Ted Thompson, they were inactive at the trade deadline and in free agency. Go back to Ron Wolf, and someone brought it in here about Ron Wolf. Ron Wolf made moves. Ron Wolf made a lot of moves. He was aggressive bringing in Reggie McKenzie, Santana Dotson, Sean Jones, Keith Jackson, Seth Joyner, even though it really didn't work out, Andre Rison, Mark Ingram. I mean, he went out and got player Eugene Robinson. Can't forget about him. Mark Pryor, Don Beebe. He went out and got
Don Beebe. Talk about that's a name.
Right. So he went out and got players. And I think, and I was talking about it with Jacob earlier today in a group chat. I said, he brought up the fact that, it'd be kind of good to get away from the Ron Wolf blueprint. And I said, no, you keep the core values of the blueprint, but you take some parts of it and you modify it to where it is today.
You just don't make.
But you got if you can go get a difference maker. Look, I think Bruce, if I say to you, and this is a hypothetical, and I'll ask you guys in the chat, please feel free to jump in. If Green Bay would have offered a second this year and a third next year for DJ Moore, and Carolina was willing to take it, is that a trade that you make?
I like DJ Moore. We talked about that beforehand. I actually really like. Me personally, like I had DJ Moore in my like as a Bears fan. I had DJ Moore, then I had Jerry Jeudy, and then I had Chase Claypool. That was my ranking on all of it.
Well, I would have done something a little bit different. I would have done that deal if they would have taken that. And I would have even.
That's a lot to give up, though, I think.
Exactly. Well, for real, for a player that's about to hit his fourth year, correct? And a player that is coming off 3 straight 1,100-yard years, correct? And a player that this year hasn't put up good numbers because the quarterback play, the only place it's worse is in Chicago.
So I'm curious about this. So, am I? Can you still hear me? It looks like I'm having problems.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I got you.
All right. So I'm curious about this. So this is actually a buddy of mine who's a huge Packers fan. I want to hear your thoughts on the Ridley deal. So would you have taken Calvin Ridley?
Yeah, I would have. But again, it's not for this year. I'm looking forward.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's why I think DJ Moore is a better fit. And let me explain why. Worst case scenario, if Green Bay only has 1 or 2 more wins going into that Philly game in about a month or so,
they're gonna get fucking
Aaron Rodgers.
They're gonna get boat raced, and
his thumb is still jacked up, right? That may be the time if you're Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur saying, Aaron, get that thumb looked at. Let's see what the young guy got. Let's see what the young guy has. Let's see what Jordan Love has, because this is what you could do. If you were to bring in another receiver like that, what you have is you got to let the young guys play. You got to let Dobbs,
agree.
Watson, he's got to get healthy, and thank God he is, because that was a scary injury with his head injury. Yeah. And Torrey, you got to let those guys get on the field more. Let them make their mistakes. But let's say they develop and you bring in a DJ Moore. Look at what you have along with Lazard with the young quarterback. He's got younger guys and a big receiver to grow with.
But do you think? No, I don't know, man. Like, do you think that a young you're seeing it in Chicago? Like, do you think a young quarterback can help develop receivers? Granted, the trust level might be there more because Aaron Rodgers, wants a veteran receiver and be able to, what I'm saying? Like you guys talked about that a few times, but do you think that the trust level or the development is here and then the trust level is here? Like, is it kind of on the same plane? You know what I'm saying? Like, I kind of struggle with that thought process because you have a Hall of Fame quarterback who's trying to help bring these receivers up to.
Is he trying to help them?
That's a question. That's a good question.
The problem is this: you got a quarterback you gave $50 million to, and you're trying to appease. But you got a younger team. You got to shit or get off the pot. Either you rebuild or you contend. If you contend, you go all in like the Miami Dolphins did. If you rebuild, you fucking rebuild. But at this point, you don't just sit back and say you can't have your cake and eat it too. And
I think they made that decision though already by extending him, by giving that $50 million. They made that decision.
Very true, but the salary cap, as real as it is, there's also ways around it, and they got a guy that knows how to maneuver all the way around it. So if Aaron Rodgers decided behind the scenes that he wanted to retire at the end of the year, and they kind of know it already, wink, wink, nod, nod, okay, this is it for me because I see where this is going. I see my skills this year kind of decreasing a little bit. I made my money. I'm cool. Then you become inactive because then you get aggressive in free agency because you're going to have, depending on how they do the salary cap, you're going to have some money to maneuver around. I'm not a salary cap expert. I don't pretend to be. I'm not a guy that pretends to know what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm literally just.
I never know what I'm doing. I never know what I'm doing. It's all good. Literally. I mean, according to you guys, I'm a Bears fan. I never know what I'm doing.
Yeah, at least acceptance is part of the road to recovery, Bruce. So I'm glad that you're
3 inches already. We're expecting about 2 more inches.
Hey, well, that's for later. That's for later. But that to me, Bruce, is the thing. The Gutekunst has to shit or get off the pot at this point. Either you're going to make that move and go and get a guy that can help right now and help you win, or you say, we're going to hold tight. We'll see what Aaron's going to do at the end of the year, and we'll make a move from there. And look, if they have 5 wins by that Eagles game, and while they're having those, and his thumb isn't right, and they're still like treading water, and it's still up and down.
Right.
The bottom line is see what Love has, because you're gonna have to make a decision with him at the end of next year anyway, whether or not you're gonna have that 5th-year option or not. So you're gonna have to make a decision. The same way they had to make a decision with Rodgers when Favre left. It was that last year of his contract. He played enough, and Ted Thompson gave him a deal at the time that I think it was up like a 6th game where it extended him a little bit, on till he got his mega deal. Same type of thing. You have to see what you have in Jordan Love at some point.
So you know what though, the one thing that I did like about to go bring it back to the original topic, your original talk shit that you had about the Bears getting Chase Claypool. What I do like about what Ryan Poles has done for this franchise is it's given us there's been a definitive decision made. There's been a definitive decision saying that, okay, we're going to try to give you something. We're going to rebuild this from the ground up. We're going to tear everything down, and it's not going to be some fucking 1 foot in here and 1 foot in here. So right now, I almost think that that's kind of where the Packers are at. That's just, and again, this is my opinion. It's hurting. It's hurting you guys. It's hurting that franchise. It's hurting like the development of the receivers. It's hurting Aaron Rodgers' legacy. Green Bay Packers fans, because you have a guy in Gutekunst who's not ballsy enough to make a fucking decision.
Well, and the thing is I think in part 2, and I'm all for player empowerment and asking them their opinions about things, but you can't have too many chefs in the kitchen. And if 12 is trying to pull some strings, that is a way to kind of, fuck up the rotation. Jude, you heard that part. Which,
I was about to click that.
I didn't say get away from it. You take the core values and you modify the rest of it, because this isn't the 90s anymore. This isn't 1992 through 99 or whatnot, or early 2000s. This is a new era of football, and you have to modify. Everything gets modified. The West Coast offense is modified.
The optimistic approach. Oh,
get Cobb, Lazard, and Watson back out there, run the offense. Okay, I agree with that. I will say this: I seen more in the second half of that Bills games that gave me reason for optimism, and reason for hope as a Packers fan than I did in any game this season. And even in that first half, the way the Green Bay ran the ball, the way that Aaron Jones was the focal point of the offense, and they finally let Romeo Doubs do what he's supposed to do and what he did at UNR, go up and get contested balls and get them deep. He can run slants and digs and in curls and whatnot, but he's a guy that likes to get vertical and take some shots. And you've seen the type of catch that he make. He can make those circus catches. He's young and he's growing into the role. I mean, I looked at the stats today. He has 30 catches for 298 yards and 3 touchdowns. Devontae Adams has 38 catches for 530 yards and 5 touchdowns. Like, it's a 9.9 average to a 13.8 yard average. He's not that far off, folks.
Okay. So real quick, I just thought of this. And this will lead into the second part of my question for you too. As a Packers fan and as a Packers like person who's very, knows a lot of people a part of that organization. So today, what do you think the Packers could have done to help change the trajectory or potentially change the trajectory of this franchise at the deadline?
I think they could have maybe gave a 2 and a 2 to Carolina for DJ Moore, and then turn and help the receiving core that way. And I think something they could do is go sign a defensive lineman or 2 to help fortify the defensive front.
So I love that answer because that actually transitions me into this question for you. And for a fact that you saw these exact same reports. The defensive coordinator, and he's slipping my mind right now for the Packers. Thank you. There's been some players reported that kind of pissed off at him and not a fan of what he's doing. That's a defense that was supposed to be ranked in the top 5 this year. And we heard everything out of the
pass, number 5 overall, 29 against the run.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people right now. There's a lot of when there's smoke, there's fire. So players have reportedly said to sources or reporters, whatever, that they don't like their defensive coordinator or the schemes that he's running and the things that he's calling. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think LaFleur should make a change on that or no?
Well, not in season, not right now. Look, the reality is this is where player empowerment comes in. You got a top 2 or 3 corner in Jair Alexander. We're going to talk about Jair in just a minute. Don't play it yet. No, I've seen you about to get happy fingers and click it.
No. Okay, my wife loves the happy fingers. Whoa!
That 1 to 2 inches with another, 3 inches.
You're out.
That's what it was about. Yeah. So, but even with Jair, you got Preston Smith, Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark, Adrian Amos. You have to do something with that defense. And this is where Barry, if you're a good coach, you need to go listen to them. And this is where you have to adjust your scheme a little bit. And that means Jair starts to trail the best receiver, then you do it. If that means he's playing the star position in the slot, you do it. If that means you have to put your players in the best position to make game-changing plays.
Agreed.
And I think for me, one of the issues I have is the defensive line is not playing good enough. And it's not just Kenny Clark who's not having a great year. TJ is doing okay. Slayton's doing okay. But the rest of that line has to play better. Ron Reed, Dean Lowry. Right now, Dean Lowry is just a guy taking up cap space. Sorry for those, I know he's from the Chicago area guy. He's just a guy taking up cap space.
I'm good.
You know what I'm saying? Like, when you look at that, you have to get deeper up front. And you have to get your offensive line together. Like, their best offensive line they haven't rolled out one time this year. Sunday was supposed to be the first time where you've seen Bakhtiari, Jenkins, Myers, Runyon, and Yosh as your offensive line. But Jenkins was out with an injury. So maybe this week against Detroit you see it. You have to win up front and control the line of scrimmage in order for you to win. Period, point blank. And the defensive line has not done a good job of that all season long. Hey, you know what, David? Salute. That may be the best one so far on the show in a long time.
It's just funny. I love that.
Jude asked a good question about why not play Wyatt more. You know what? He's getting more rotation. I think that their whole point was to bring him along. And there may be something that they've seen in camp that knew they were going to bring him along slowly. I mean, they want to give guys opportunity. But you also got to look. I'll say something else that may not be
Hey, you'll know this better than I would.
Should I spill Jacob? Should I spill the beans?
Jacob.
Should I spill the beans on this one?
Yeah. Why not?
Okay. Zadarius lost favor in the locker room and the organization when he wasn't named a captain last year. And then he got the captain chain made and his back is hurt. And there's a bunch of things that were said behind the scenes from him to his people. Yeah. And he rubbed a lot of people, players, coaches, and organizational front office people alike the wrong way. And because of that, they were ready to move on. Plus, they just were in a position where they wanted to see more Rashawn Gary. Bottom line is they want to see more Rashawn Gary. And they wanted to get more athletic inside. That's hence the Quay Walker pick. And a guy that I think as time goes on is going to get better and better and better. He is only, 7-8 games into his career. So it's not like you can judge anybody off of that. Sterling Sharp.
7? 8.
Yeah. Sterling Sharp didn't have a great start to his career by some people's eyes, but he ended up having a Hall of Fame career, arguably. So, there's a lot of other things about Z behind the scenes that just didn't rub people the right way, Jeffrey. So that's why was there. So, but what I'm going to say now, hold on, before I get to this.
Oh, all right. I got you. I'm
going to say this now.
You going to run it?
No, not yet. Amari Rodgers needs more time at wide receiver because he plays as a wide receiver.
Hold on. Can I comment on that? So I actually feel in the times. So it's funny too because Jeffrey in the comment section right now, he calls me a closet Packers fan, and I have been you all got to stop. I am not at all. Okay. But it does seem like Aaron Rodgers has a certain amount of trust that I was talking about earlier in the show with him. And there seems to be a little bit better connection with him. And to be honest with you, from what I saw too, there's like he passes the eye test. As much as MJ hates me saying that and using that term, like I see things. I don't know. I see things in him in Rodgers that like he gets separation from receivers. I haven't seen him drop a ball. Granted, maybe he has, but I haven't seen it in the times that I've watched Packers games. Okay, fair enough. But it's just I don't go out of my way to watch Packers games, but the times that I've actually sat down to watch them when the Bears aren't losing. but yeah, man, like I actually like it. I think the development of him would be huge, and I don't know. I don't mind it, but anyway.
As a returner, he leaves a lot to be desired. That goes without saying. But as a receiver, what you've seen in him the last couple games gives you some hope that maybe there could be something there.
There's a separation.
Exactly. Now, I want to Packers fans. I hate saying cheeseheads because as a Packers fan, I find that shit highly offensive because I think it's lame. Wearing cheese on your head, I think it's lame. I'm sorry.
Oh, I agree with that. No, it's that's.
Let me say this.
Go ahead.
I took some shit on social media on Sunday because I said let Jair do his thing. He allowed, I believe, one reception, and it wasn't to Diggs, and maybe was to Davis, or it could have been the other receiver, but he had only had a pick. He graded out as the highest rated defender on the team. He is unquestionably the leader of that defense and the heart and soul of the team as it currently is. You want to know why Diggs was pissed off, Bruce? Show him why Diggs was pissed off.
Running it.
This is the reason why Diggs is pissed off. Jair Alexander made plays like this against Diggs constantly when he was with the Minnesota Vikings. Okay, that's what he did. So Diggs is pissed off because Jair Alexander locks him up. Period. Point blank. So for all those that are saying Jair needs to shut up, Jair needs to no. That's what he does. And it's about time somebody had some fucking swag on that defense. Somebody went out there and laid their dick on the table and said, let's go. Because that defense has not been playing like it all year. And that is another problem. The defense has been playing soft. And that goes to soft-ass zone coverage where your cushions are off. Joe Barry, nut the fuck up, let your corners cover, get after the quarterback. That's how you play defense. And fucking wrap up when you tackle. That's how you play defense. Am I lying, bro?
No, not at all. I love the pop. Like, you know what? Like, you sent it to me and I saw that shit. I was like, that's a fucking play right there. Like, I love that stuff. Like, that's fun. That's fucking meathead. I'm a meathead. It's okay. Like, I love that shit. Fucking pop.
It was rookie year. It was literally his rookie year.
So wait, what did Diggs say? Like, what happened? Like, there was like, it was funny.
Nobody knows what happened. They were in the tunnel, and just like Michigan and some other stadiums, there's one tunnel both teams come out of, in and out.
Just so fucking dumb.
And Diggs and him,
get into that Michigan stuff.
Jair was walking down to the field. Diggs stopped and went right to him and started chirping. So what happened? Jair, he's a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. The Noops never back away from a challenge, ever. So he let him know about himself. All day long, he let him know about himself. And if you see, Jair played in control by doing that, while Diggs is losing his mind, which is perfect because now you got him out of his game. That means he's mentally weak, period, point blank. So that's what got started. And at the end, like Jair said, the war may have been
the battle. The battle.
The battle was won by Jair. The war was won by the Bills, not Diggs. Because if Jair's on Diggs, he clamps him up. And if I'm Joe Barry, Jair Alexander, Justin Jefferson, that's your guy. Oh, you're playing Detroit this week? Amon-Ra St. Brown, that's your guy. Oh, you're playing the Cowboys? CeeDee Lamb, that's your guy. Oh, you're playing the Eagles? A.J. Brown, that's your guy. That's how you play. When you got a corner like Jair and you're paying him as a top corner, you got to let him play like the top corner.
So I think that, you know what, though? I think that's also, it's the same shit that you see all over the NFL. It's not just the Packers that do that shit. It's a lot of NFL franchise teams do that. I don't want to say all of them. I don't want to say that, I've seen multiple videos. That's not true. But I'm noticing more and more in any kind of broadcast talking about how they keep their star corners on only one side of the field because they play a zone defense and they don't want to move them around. I don't like that concept. Like, if you're an athlete, if you're a player, and if just say, fuck it, go get him. Fuck it, go get him. You stay on him. You fucking glue to a fucking rat's ass. I don't even know if that's a saying, but I just fucking made it up. But yeah, man.
To stay on your point, Deion Sanders, Rod Woodson, Champ Bailey,
Charles Woodson, fucking
I'll go further. Darryl Green,
right? Guess what? They wanted to go against Jerry Rice. They wanted to go against Michael Irvin. They wanted to go against Chris Carter. They wanted to go against all these motherfuckers. You know why? Because they're the best of the best. They didn't want to say, I'm going to stay on the right side of the field because I feel comfortable here. Or I don't want to.
The thing is, that's not Green Bay's corners. That's not. They're like, hey, put us where you want us to go.
Right. Exactly.
What were you going to say?
I don't even remember, dude. I don't know.
Look at that. We're talking about corners traveling around and whatnot.
Yeah. But no, I know what I was going to say. So the transition. So you brought up you did bring up the Detroit Lions, and you did bring up, the Vikings. We got to talk about it. So the Lions and the Vikings have a interdivisional trade with one another.
So
the Vikings end up getting TJ Hawkinson, and the Lions got his second round in 23 and a third round in 24.
Yeah, and I think a fourth or a fourth and a fifth, or a fourth went back to Minnesota. Where the only good thing ever out of Minnesota was Prince, but we can get into that later.
Fair. So I know before we were talking about like the interdivisional trade and stuff like that in the pre-show, but I just thought about it like right now. How do you feel as a Packers? Because I have my answer as a Bears fan, but how do you feel as a Packers fan seeing the Vikings acquire perhaps one of the top 3 tight ends in the NFL?
I don't care. It's business. Nobody complained when Green Bay traded 2 seconds to move up for Christian Watson with Minnesota. So you can't. It's bottom line. It's a business. Who cares? You're trying to
Right.
improve your team by any means necessary.
Agree.
So
I agree.
if you look at if Green Bay decided, oh, you know what, we want to, let's say 10 years ago, we want to make a trade with Minnesota for Randy Moss,
Oh.
and we are going to give up 2 first-round picks. Why not? Who cares? I mean, like, if Minnesota is going to rebuild, who cares? Like, I know you're going to torch them twice a year. So what? You're going to get torched regardless by them. And there's a reason why you want to get rid of them, which leads me to the trade deadline and things like that. And it goes back to Claypool. When's the last time the Steelers got rid of a player that could help them? They don't do that. The same way the Packers don't get rid of players intentionally that can help them. Devontae wanted to leave. It's not that Green Bay didn't offer more money. They did. It's not that he was pissed off.
They did. You're right. They did offer more money.
They offered him more money. If Rodgers would have done what he was supposed to do, either go ahead and make a decision about his future or get traded or whatever, Devontae Adams would probably still be a Packer right now. But because Aaron Rodgers was dilly-dallying and drinking ayahuasca and doing all kinds of other shrooms and whatnot, Devontae's like, fuck it, I'm out. Bottom line. And I want out. So that's not Green Bay. It wasn't like, hey, we're going to get rid of Devontae now. It's time to get rid of Devontae. It's not like they're saying, hey, Brett Favre. Brett Favre was literally damn near benched in the NFC Championship game against the Bears for changing Mike McCarthy's plays.
Yeah, I remember that shit.
And almost got into a fight after the game with offensive linemen and other teammates because he said, hey, guys, I just got us 2 weeks extra vacation. So that was already done. They knew they were going to move on. So it's whatever. So good teams don't get rid of good players that can help them win now. So I don't care.
Agree. So I agree with that. Win now. Correct. Agree.
Right. So I mean, I don't care if it's Green Bay trading with Chicago. I don't care if it's Minnesota trading with Detroit or Detroit trading with Chicago or whatever. It doesn't matter to me. Who cares? It's business. This isn't friendship. And believe me, yes, there's a rivalry between the fan bases, but honestly, these are businessmen trying to make business decisions.
I like this question.
That's a great question. And I think part of it is when you don't show up to OTAs with these young receivers and you don't play in preseason games with these young receivers and you're too busy doing podcasts and everything else versus being with the young receivers, building chemistry, it's going to take longer in season.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom line is it takes longer in season. I don't see why.
Yeah, but could it be a talent gap too, though? And I'm not okay. So this is hypothetical. This isn't talking shit. So is it a talent gap too between with the receivers? Because again, I go back to what I was saying earlier. Like I like Rodgers. Like from everything that I've seen about that dude, I actually think he might be better than Dobbs. But again, that goes back to me not watching as much Packer football as you guys, flat out. But again, I do think it's a talent issue in Green Bay at the receiving position because there's no way in hell that hypothetically, again, if the Packers traded for Claypool and got Claypool, you guys would be fucking happy as a motherfucker right now. If you got DJ Moore, even happier. But you know what I'm saying.
To your point, and I think you know me well enough to know I'm a pretty straight shooter. Yeah. I would not have been happy with Claypool.
Really? Interesting.
I didn't really like him that much coming out. He drops too many balls. I think he's got stiff hips as a receiver.
I don't think he doesn't drop. He doesn't actually in his 3 years. He's only dropped 11 balls. I already looked at that.
I'm talking about coming out of Notre Dame.
Okay. Oh, fair.
That's what I was talking about.
Okay.
And I didn't think that, in all honesty, yes, he's big, but okay, he's big and he can move a little. But you got to learn the offense. And it's not an offense you can learn like that. It's an offense that you have to. So would he have helped this year?
This guy.
Cooks. For me, it would have been Moore or Judy. Those are the two that I would have.
Oh yeah, see, that was my top two, but I'm
Those are
cool
the
with
top two
Claypool.
for me. Yeah, I mean Judy with his young, a lot of time left on his rookie deal. DJ Moore with what he does after the catch and the fact that he's very consistent early on in his career.
So this goes kind of Judy ended up saying like kind of what I was saying. He was able to bring up like I don't know.
He also was
able
younger and in
to-
his prime years. He's not the same guy.
He was an MVP last year.
Again, last year. So let me ask you a question. How quickly can somebody's skills just because
Well, you're seeing it in Tampa and you're seeing it in Wisconsin right now.
Okay. So that's last year. What is Bill Walsh's old adage? Get rid of him a year too early versus a year too late.
You're too late. I agree with that. I like that. No, I agree.
So with that, you have to understand that Geronimo Allison, Jared Boykin, and insert a slew of other receivers that came through Green Bay during Rodgers' years that weren't Greg Jennings, Jordy Nelson, James Jones, Donald Driver,
Right.
Devontae Adams, Jermichael Finley. Go through the list of them. The guys that he's made better, okay, but he also was in his early 30s.
Mm-hmm.
He also was in his 20s. He also was, I believe, more inclined to listen to coaching versus kind of going off doing his own thing.
I agree with that. Even though LaFleur is a whole hell of a lot better coach than fucking McCarthy was, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, I don't want to use the Super Bowl thing with that, but McCarthy has a Super Bowl ring and changed Rodgers' mechanics and got him ready to where he is, him and Tom Clements, versus, LaFleur's got him playing, but I also think the motivation of having a young first-round quarterback also motivates you to play a lot better. One of the things I did like with the offense that I've seen was him under center with some more play action, which they need to do more of. I believe, especially with Aaron Jones running the way he runs, more play action could lead to more points and bigger chunk plays.
Yeah, because you have to have a commitment to the run too, and I don't know if I've really seen that either from the Packers.
Well, they did last week, and that's what I'm saying. That's why I seen more last week than I did at all this season. And furthermore, I'll even just take it a step further. Rodgers talks about getting the ball out on time, and in part, him getting the ball out on time, some of that may be receivers having a hard time getting off the line or running their routes or running route adjustment or whatnot.
Right.
So I get that, but he still has to get the ball. There's times where I'm seeing a guy flash in front of him, and he's just like, and it's like, oh, and then he'll let it go. It's late. He's got to get the ball out on time. So for me, I look at what Green Bay needs to do, which is one, let the rookie receivers play and commit to them full time now. You didn't get anybody. If by any chance, and I'm not saying this is happening, so no, that's not happening because you never know what happens. If they go sign Odell Beckham Jr. and they get on a little run and sign OBJ to make a stretch run into the playoffs and have them for further years, that's one thing.
But
fair. Again, that's the same situation. He's got to learn an offense. He has, he's got to be spoon-fed this stuff.
There's a learning period.
Which is why I think he signed sooner with the team versus later, because he won't be ready till right around Thanksgiving.
Well, I think November was a time frame in which people were saying that he would end up being signed by some team.
Right, but I'm saying now's the time. It's November 1st. Now's the time if you're serious about him, you go get him, and you give him I guess in terms of 4-year deal, but really it's a 2, maybe a 3-year deal with a void year on the back end for cap purposes. But if you're not going to do that, you commit to the young receivers. And look, Sammy Watkins, God bless you for being a good soldier, but your time, dude. You're done. You're done, homie. Lazard, you heard a snap, crackle, pop with your shoulder. What's really wrong with it? Cobb, God bless you. I'm glad you're back, but let's see what these young guys have. If we don't see what these young guys have, if you don't see what they have, you don't know what you're going to get out of them, and which puts you in a position you got to go get somebody. You may have to overspend, and the next thing these guys leave and they go on somewhere else and have some success. Right. Also, and I've seen the DeGuara in the backfield. That was the reason why they got him. That's the reason why they drafted him. They went and got an H-back, a guy that can play a little bit of everything, and a guy that just makes plays. Getting him and Tunyon more involved in the offense is only going to help as well. But again, you have to win up front, and Rodgers has to get the ball out on time. If he doesn't do those things,
if he doesn't do those things, it would present itself as the fumble of the week.
Oh man, the fumble of the week.
And before you get into it, yours is a little bit more serious than mine. So
go ahead, give me your fumble of the week, bro.
I will say it. My fumble of the week. Actually, it really isn't a real. It's a fumble. My fumble of the week was Justin Fields not touching Mike Parsons on Montgomery's fumble and jumping over him instead of just doing a little tap. That's all I wanted to see, doing a little tap. I know it's a very simple, very small, very like an insignificant fumble of the week for what you're about to share, but that was mine. Nothing crazy. It wouldn't have affected the game, but I just thought that was the proverbial fumble of the week.
Football IQ, gotta have it.
Truth.
So my
Joe,
fumble
what's yours?
My fumble of the week goes to all of you. Button on social media, writing your overreactions and reading the overreactions from all the know-it-alls who crave and thrive for attention from the fan base that they root for because they think they know more than the people doing the job on the team. The coaches, the players, the support staff, the front office, the people getting paid to do the job and have been doing it for a long time. Just because you play video games, play fantasy football, or have a so-called podcast because you think you have a voice, instead of reaching out to people to get information, why don't you do the job and go get the information yourself from real sources? Because people that have sources, people like me and MJ and people that I run with, Paul Gutierrez from ESPN and people like that, we're not going to give out our sources or information because you're going to put it out there and act like you said. And like I said, no one gives you shit because no one cares about what you think. That's my fumble of the week.
Oh, I love it. That was funny.
But
I appreciate you. See, I'll just text you now when I need a little information.
See, Bruce, we're good. Like
right.
You're not. It's not you. It's just. But you don't understand how frustrating it gets when you literally see, like, you get information and you share it with certain people. Like, there's certain people that I have in my inner circle that I share information with, and they share it with me. And there's certain things that we bounce off of each other, and then we go source it and go through the whole process.
Right.
But there's other people who think because they get a number because you were on their show once or twice that they reach out to you and can ask you any and everything about what do you think about such and such, or are they going to do this, or are you hearing? And then, like, they want to act like, and if you don't tell them, they get pissed. Well,
right, because you know why? Because it's not about the source of getting the accurate information. It's about being the first person to present it out there. Right.
Yeah, the people like that just annoy the shit out of me, and I'm seeing it more and more. And I'm not an I told you so guy. I'm not one of those guys that go out there and just say I told you so and ha ha yeah, and I said this was going to happen, like my guy said for Franchise Sports Media or for Game On Wisconsin. No, it's none of that.
No,
but you don't need to do none of this. There's no padding. Like, you do it and you move on. You don't see Adam Schefter. Hey, like I reported, Bradley Chubb was going to get at least the first round pick from a team, and Miami's a team to watch out for. You don't get that. You don't see Jay Glazer. Hey, my sources are telling me that and I told you guys. I told you on the show last Sunday when I was on there with the guys, me and Strahan. No, you don't see that. You don't see Josie Anderson doing it. You don't see the people that with actual sources, Ian and anybody. You don't see them doing it.
No, they don't. Of course they don't. But you know what, though? You know what they don't do either? A Hail Mary of the week.
That's right. And the Hail Mary of the week, this one's very special. It goes to you, Bruce, because you're going to be a daddy. And I am so.
Oh, wow.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
I was not expecting that. That's what you said at the beginning.
I told you, I got something special for you this week. But congratulations to you and the missus, man. Welcome to the great fraternity of fathers, and I wish nothing but healthy, successful baby, successful childbirth for you and your wife, and I couldn't be happier for you, my friend. So on behalf of myself, MJ, Franchise Sports Media, Game On Wisconsin, Bruce, congratulations. And
That's really cool. That's really cool. Like I was not expecting that whatsoever. I'm rarely at a point of a loss for words, but I don't have anything but gratitude and appreciation. So that's really cool. And thank you. And you know what, flat out, I can't really beat that. So, but that being said, before we bounce, but thank you. And I will definitely let everyone know, boy or girl, when we officially announce it too.
You have to.
But yeah, thanks, man. It's much appreciated.
So Bruce, let everybody know where they can find you and MJ on Thursdays with everything you got going on.
Well, before we got that, hold on. Before we get to that point, because we can't. Hey. Remember, I'm the producer usually in the background, so I usually got.
I'm just shooting.
So that being said, we got to do this first. So Green Bay at Detroit this weekend. Green Bay by 3.5. Over under at 49.5. What you got?
Okay, I'm torn because part of me wants Green Bay to lay an egg the rest of the season and go draft Anderson from Alabama early in the draft. Okay, full disclosure. But there is a big part of me that thinks Green Bay is going to start a run. And I think it started against Buffalo in the second half. And I think the attitude that you've seen from Jair and you're starting to see from some of the other guys on offense, I think it's going to start this week. Detroit, as much as I like what they're building over there, and I think they're going to be a really good team in the future, as long as they stay the course with the current staff, I say Green Bay over the 3.5.
Oh, they cover. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Agree. All right, brother. Well, that being said, it's about that time. If you guys want to watch MJ and I, well, Joe, first of all, before you close it, I want to say thank you for, giving me the opportunity to jump on with you guys and with you, actually, more specifically, and, be able to share some of my thoughts. Granted, again, I'm not a huge Packer fan. However, with the amount of people that I talk to now that are Packer fans, I get to have like some base knowledge and try to throw curveballs your way here and there. And I think it's been a long time since I've gotten you or MJ to say great question. So when I heard that in my mind, I was like, think. But yeah, hey guys, so MJ and I will be live for Third Down Thursdays this Thursday at 7 p.m. We got some craziest. I can't wait to hear MJ's reactions to the NFL draft. Unfortunately, like I said, he wasn't able to jump on tonight with on our show, but it is what it is. And Joe, much appreciated, brother.
Okay, you guys can catch me and everything that I do on Franchise Sports Media. We have a show called the Franchise Podcast that comes out every Wednesday, and then every Wednesday evening is the video show. That's what we're doing first this week. So you can check us out there. If you want to have any type of, let's say you want to learn about another team, we got Raider content, anything Las Vegas related. So if you're in Vegas, go ahead and check us out. But the move is the Franchise Podcast. That's the show me and my best friend, co-founder of my company, Franchise Sports Media.
Look at you. So look at you with a little pub right there. All right, Joe, much appreciated. Thank you again, man, and go Bears.
No, listen, see, all that nice shit I said is gone now.